Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel for cruisecasinomafia.com, your home for over 700 private casino income strategies, PDFs, mindset videos, and private money management concepts that keep you chugging along even when things aren't going your way. All right, so more on that. If you go to visit cruisecasinomafia.com, you can sign up for a lifetime membership, get access to the community with everything we've done over the last 2 years. If you're interested in more of a focused, strategic, intensive situation, we have our paycheck series, one-off strategies that have multiple videos, concepts, and teach you how to do it. You can buy one of our paycheck series products through cruisecasinomafia.com. Just click on a get access, one of the get access links, and you can see the systems that are currently still available. Some of those are on limited access, so we can only sell them for a certain amount of times or to a certain amount of people. So you want to act if you're interested in Fortune Formula or Baccarat Equalizer or any of the things that are up right now. All right, so this is video number 2 of our Craps Bootcamp, and we're calling this series basically making the 7 your friend. So if you didn't watch the first video, you're going to want to watch that from, I guess it was last week. And about how to turn the best number in a combination of 2 die, right? The best number, the 7, which comes up more often, into your friend using some combination of a pass line or a don't pass or a DC bet, the don't come, or a lay bet. So today we're going to take it one step further. We're not going to talk about specific full-on strategies, but we're going to show you components of things that you can play around with and get comfortable with as to how to take this 7 and make it into something that's a fully formed strategy. The strategies themselves, we've showed a few of them on this channel for free. We've shown many of them in our membership site. Okay, if you join the membership site, how we use the 7, and we're going to touch on some of that. And then at the end of May, beginning of June, we have some things coming out that are going to be incredible that use some of these concepts that we've been talking about in this quick series. And the results from that, we've been using them for several months live, are absolutely out of this world. They come with spreadsheets so that you can sit at a craps, bubble craps, or a hybrid craps table and play them. And all the math is already worked out for you. So that's something that's coming at the end of May, beginning of June. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer. But I wanted to show you some of the concepts. All right, so what we did in video number 1 is we showed you the differences between how the 7 is your friend on the pass line only once on the come out roll. Then it becomes your enemy. And how the 7 is your enemy on the 1 come out roll, but is your friend after that. And how the DC bet is basically the same thing as a don't pass, but you don't have to worry about that come out roll. You can only use the DC bet after a point has been established. And then one of my favorite things to do in craps, which is a lay bet, which means you get to pick the number, any of these numbers, versus the 7. And the only negative to that one is that it's not an even money payout. It's based on the odds. So I'm going to show you a couple of different thoughts and pieces on this quick video as to how we put some of these things together. Okay, so let's talk about that. So you guys know that we can use multiple combinations of things, right? So let's talk about the weakest link first. Let's say that we have a $100 don't pass. I mean, a $100 pass, I'm sorry, which is the weakest link if you're really looking at making the 7 your friend. But there's even a way to use this pass line, right? So let's just talk about a few different ways. So let's say we put $100 on the pass line, and 6 is now the point, right? 6 is the point. We can combine this with multiple things, right? Combine this with multiple things. We can use a combination of a pass line bet and the DC bet now that there's a point established. So we can do something like this. We can do $25 in the DC. We already have the pass line, which means we own the 6, right? We want the 6 to be thrown before the 7 now. So the 7 is no longer our friend after that come out roll. But now if we use it in combination with a DC bet, let's say a $25 don't come, the 5 is rolled and we're moved to the DC behind the 5. So now we've got a piece of the 7, right? A piece of the 7. If the 6 is rolled, we're going to win here, but we're not going to lose this. But if the 7 is rolled before a 5, we're going to lose this 100, but we are going to make the 25, right? Now you're going to say to me, well, how does that work out? That doesn't make this a viable strategy. You're right. There's more to this nuance to make this a full-fledged strategy. It could be multiple DC bets. It could be a combination of a DC bet along with pass line bets. So you could have something like this. You could have had an 8. Let's say you had a $30 8. And you could have a $25 9. Something like this. So now if the 8 or the 9 hits, we're going to get paid on it. If the 7 hits, we're going to lose this, and we're going to get paid on this. So the moral of the story is when you do combination betting, much of it has to be thought out in terms of the math, in terms of the combinations of what you're trying to accomplish, right? So this, the way I have it now, is probably not viable, at least in the way that I look at combo bets. Now, could it work? Yeah. If you have multiple 8s and 9s thrown, then you may make back your pass line bet so that it's not even at risk if you then remove these bets and regress or totally take them down, right? Maybe you have this covered after a few of these hits. But there's a lot more math to be able to figure out what the best combinations are and how much money we need to bet on these different numbers for those combinations to work out effectively. All right, so we're not going to go into the full strategy here. I'm showing you how to use these individual bets and combine them to have something that works with a 7 being your friend. So let's just play this out for the hell of it. There's the 7. So we didn't hit the 8, the 9, and we certainly lost our pass line, but we made the money on the 5. So you can see how that didn't work out because the numbers were not correct. All right. So what else can we do to use the 7 as our friend? What type of concepts work? Well, we could obviously use the pass line again, the weakest way to use the 7. And we can bring in the other type of component, which is a lay bet, right? Now, the reason we use this many times is not because we want the lay bet and the pass line. We're using it when we do this sometimes as a hedge. Okay, as a hedge. So, because remember, the 7 is not our friend on the come out roll if you're on the pass line. So we're afraid that that 7, which always rears its ugly head, if you're here, it's an ugly head. If you're at somewhere else, it may not be. But here, it destroys you. So what can you do to hedge against that one come out roll? Well, you can certainly do a lay bet like this. Okay? Just for one shot. So now if the 7 comes, you're hedged against the 7. I mean, I'm sorry. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? The 7, I apologize, guys. The 7 is your friend on the pass line, okay? So you don't need the hedge here. You need it on the don't pass. So this is what I'm talking about. So when the 7 or the 11 comes on the don't pass, you're going to lose on the come out roll. Okay? You're going to lose on the come out roll. So if we're on the don't pass here, we want to get past the come out roll because then the 7 is our friend. Right? The 7 and the 11 win on the pass line. That's what I was trying to tell you guys. Right? And that's why we were trying to use the DC bet to create the 7 component after the come out roll. But if you're on the don't pass, the 7 and the 11, you're going to lose this. So you're at risk, you're at your greatest risk on the come out roll right now. So the way that we can try to manipulate that, if you want to avoid that risk, and there's no reason I'm not telling you that you have to hedge everything. There are many strategies we use that just use the don't pass. In fact, a few of the things that we're testing like crazy right now do not hedge the come out roll. And they are performing like you wouldn't believe, like a dream. And those are things that are going to be coming for members in the near future. And some of them we've already released to members over the last 6 months. All right. So what do we do if we want to hedge this one roll? We know that the 4 and the 10 have the least ways of being made of any of these point numbers or box numbers, right? So we can do a lay bet on the 4 or the 10, which pays about 50% of the bet like this. Okay? Now, you see that I put 200 here, 2 times whatever this bet is, because this is only going to hedge for half the money. So for you to hedge the full 100 here, you got to put about 200 out. And it does not pay exactly 50%. It pays like $47. I mean, $47 on 100. So it's a little less than the $100 you're going to make here. So it's a little bit less of a hedge, right? You can put more on this if you want, but there's no reason to do a full hedge unless you want to. So watch what happens here. We're going to lose the lay bet, as always, if this number is rolled. And that's the negative side of the hedge, right? But if the 7 comes up, we're going to win this and we're going to lose this. The only time this is not a hedge is on the 11. We're going to lose this bet on the 11, but we're not going to make it back here, right? And there's other complicated structures you can certainly do. You could throw a few dollars here on this 11 here. I don't do it. I think sometimes when you overdo the hedge, you're wasting more money in the long run by worrying about the one bet. Okay? All right, so let's see what happens. All right, so a 9 is rolled. So we no longer need this hedge because we made it through the come out roll where the 7 is not our friend. So now we're going to take that off and we're going to do whatever the rest of our strategy may be. It may be place bets, it may be DC bets, it may be the field, whatever it may be. Okay? But that's how we hedge the negative side of the 7 is our friend, don't pass. Right? Now, can you also use a combo of the don't pass with the don't come now? You could. Where it's a full dark strategy, meaning that there's no positive elements or light side elements. And you understand what I mean by light side elements is if we wanted to, let's say now, pick up the 4, or we wanted to, pick up a 5. These are on the light side, meaning that when they do hit a 4 and a 5, we're going to make money on these. So it's a hybrid system. It's a hybrid concept where we have the 7 as our friend against the 9 here, right? That's basically our point number, right? Our point is the 7, and we don't want to see the 9. If you were on the pass line, the 9 is your point number, and you don't want to see the 7, right? So we can create strategies, which we do, that are hybrid, that have the 7 as our friend, but still make money on these other numbers. Excuse me. So you can do that, but you can also create strategies that are only on the dark side, right? Because the 7 is favored over everything now. Every number up here, the 7 has more ways of being made. So we can do something like this. We can do a DC bet, and if it rolls any of these, it's almost like a second point number to us. Let's say this goes to the 5. Now we just have to make sure that hopefully a 5 and a 9 are not rolled before the 7. The odds are in our favor. However, remember what the DC bet did. If you're in this DC and the 7 or the 11 come out, you're going to lose this. It's the same as what the come out roll was on the don't pass, basically. So let's see what happens. Okay, luckily we survived the DC and moved to the 8. So now, as long as an 8 or a 9 are not thrown before the 7, we make money. We would make the 8 even money bet, and we would make the 100. Now, notice, even though I'm not giving you the full strategy, that my DC bet was made for less money than the don't pass. Think about that. So if the 8 is rolled, I lose this 25. But if the 7 is rolled before the 9, I'm still making $75, even with the 25 that I lost on this shooter. So let's see what happens. Okay, there it is. We lost the DC bet. So now, let's say this strategy does not have you replace the DC. You only do one DC, just for our purposes of explanation, right? So now we have one bet left, the don't pass. We want the 7 to come as fast as possible. That's an 8 again. That's a 12. A 6, a 2, and a 7. There it is. So even though we lost our don't come bet, the 7 came and we won our don't pass bet. So we make our 25 back and we make 75 profit. Nothing wrong with that, right? Okay. So understand, let's go over this one more time. There are multiple ways to make the 7 your friend and either stay on the dark side completely and use the 7 only, or we can have hybrid systems where we combine the power of the 7 with other things, other numbers, right? We can do that. Now, another way, I don't do it as much, is to use this come bet. The come bet is basically the opposite of the don't come. It's a light side version of the DC. So when you put money, well, let's wait and see if let's get a point established. Okay, there's a 6. So now if you were to do something on this side to create a light side component, you could put the 25 here. Okay? So let's see what happens. All right, it moves to the 5. Just like this moves, if you had it here, it would move behind the 5, and you'd be against the 5. But if you're going to do the component with the come bet, it moves to the 5, but now you're on the light side, meaning that if a 5 shows up, they're going to pay you for this and take it down. Whereas if you are on the DC 5 and a 5 rolled, you would lose it like we did on the prior example. So let's see what happens here. So now we have a dark side bet that don't pass. So if the 7 comes up, we're going to make $100 here, even money. But if the 7 comes up before this 5 is rolled again, you're going to lose this 25. So let's see how it plays out. That's a 9, doesn't do anything. An 8, an 8, and there's the 7. So this is exactly what happened before, but the opposite. So we made the $100 with the don't pass again because the 7 came before the point, but we lost the come bet on the 5 because we lose to the 7 on the come bets here when they're on the numbers. It's just like if we were to just buy these numbers or place these numbers, they lose to the 7. So we made the same amount of money again, but doing it the opposite way. Okay? Now, I don't normally use the come bets very often. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay? And you may say to me, well, why do you like the DC, but you don't like the come bets? I'm just telling you from over 30 years of playing this game that there is a difference. It just is. All right? So if I want a light side component to a don't pass bet, or even to the DC bet, which I'm going to show you next, I would rather place these numbers immediately than have to wait for that extra roll for them to be moved out. So let's talk about that. For years, I didn't like this bet or this bet. All right? And there still is a part of me that has an issue with it. The issue is that when you use the DC or the come bet, you can lose on that first result. You can win also. Right? You can win also. But if I'm looking for a light side component to a strategy, most of the time I would rather just place the bet, right? Whatever it is, whatever numbers, whatever I'm doing, I'd rather have it on immediately. Because then if the number is rolled, I don't have to roll it a second time. I get paid instantly. But if the number is in the come out and it moves to the 5, it has to have a second 5 for me to get paid. Okay? I don't feel that way with the don't come. And that's only experience. It doesn't mean I don't get knocked off the don't come when I'm in here. It doesn't mean that a second result doesn't have to happen. The 7 has to happen for me to get paid once this moves. I get it. I understand the other side of the argument. But when I'm playing on the light side, I always feel like the clock is ticking because the 7 is always your nemesis when you're on the light side. And I want my money working as fast as possible. Okay? So if you join cruisecasinomafia.com, or if you're already a member, you know that most of the time, if we have a light side component, we're just putting it out there. Right? We want the cash register to start ka-chinging for us instantly as fast as possible because the 7 is going to show up. It may be in 2 rolls, 3 rolls, 10 rolls, 5 rolls. I want my money out here now. Okay? So now let me show you something else, a little more advanced. Hint, hint. There are other combinations that can work. So let's pull everything down. So you've seen some combo betting with the don't pass, even with the pass line and making it work with the 7, right? What if we didn't have a pass or a don't pass? Could we use the don't come as our cornerstone for a strategy? Absolutely. Okay. Now you know that the don't come cannot be made until there's a point number. So let's roll. Okay, that's a 7. So, by the way, if you were on the don't pass, you would have lost. Unless you had it hedged like we showed you before with another number here where you got paid on the 7, right? So when you use the DC bet as your cornerstone, at least you don't have to worry about the come out roll, right? Because you would have lost on the don't pass. We didn't even have a bet out here. So let's keep going. And now there's a 3. You would have won on the don't pass on that one, on the come out roll, the 2 or the 3. So again, we don't have a point, so we can't use the DC. Okay, we get a point. It's a 6. So let's say that we throw $100 into DC now, because we want this to become our cornerstone of our 7 is your friends type of strategy, right? So now this becomes what we would have done on the don't pass, basically, okay? But what if we wanted to create some type of a light component, right? So what if we wanted, let's make the light component the 4 and the 10 this time. And again, I'm showing you examples of how we construct strategies. So let's say that we wanted the light component to be less than the DC, because the 7 is our friend. It's the number that comes in more often. You could do a $50 4 and a $50 10, and I'm just showing you examples. Okay, now, what is the best case scenario if we do place numbers like this and we have money in the DC? Well, obviously if the next number rolled was a 4 and a 10, this is going to move behind the 4 and the 10, but we're also immediately going to get paid on the 4 or the 10. You can't get any better than that, right? But if it doesn't happen that way, and let's say a 5 is rolled, this is going to move to the 5, right? So now well, let's just do it. Okay, that's a 12, which means it's a break even. I know it takes it off, but we didn't lose it. So let's just put it back out there. 12 is a break even. Okay, the 9 is rolled, so our point number, so to speak, in our dark scenario is here. We own the 7, and our nemesis is the 9. Right? So this is kind of our point situation. Now, I'm going to give you some advanced stuff and then we're going to call it quits. There are multiple things you could be doing here. And the strategies that we're testing live and online for quite a while that we're going to be releasing, some of these have been released, versions of these, to our members, and some things we've even shown you here on YouTube if you go back and look at some of those craps videos that are right here on YouTube. You will see variations of different things. You have your DC bet now here, and we don't want to see a 9 because we lose this if a 9 comes up before the 7. But what can we do? What can we do? We can keep it the way it is now. And now, what are we looking to happen in this type of scenario? If the 7 comes up, we lose $100, the 50 on the 4 and the 50 on the 10. But we're going to make $100 on the 9, so it's a break even. Right? So we're covered. These are hedging this. So for us to make money, once this is established, we would love to see the 4 or the 10 rolled. Now in this case, because we picked the 4 and the 10, they pay about 2 to 1. Right? It's the opposite of the lay bet that pays half. When you're on this side, it pays like 2 to 1 or close. So this $50 bet pays us 100. Right? 100. Or we can take these off right now. Let me show you something else, just to show you. What if you did this? What if you did that? What does that mean? It means that when a 7 comes up before the 9, you make 100, but you lose 50. Interesting, huh? Interesting. You're taking a risk because the 50 here is not going to pay you for the entire 100 you would lose here if the 9 is rolled. So it's a partial hedge against the 9. Right? This is a very interesting scenario, and many things can be done from this little core element without giving away too much. Isn't that interesting? What if you did a variation of this and you ran another DC bet, and you can do it at a different amount? Let's say we did it at 50. What if you did this? Okay, the 9 was rolled. We got paid $70 on the place bet on the 9, and we lost a $100 DC bet. So we lost $30 there. Now, what happened to that new DC bet? The 9 was rolled, so it moved behind it. So we had that partial hedge where we only lost 30. And the new DC, because it's the same number, happened to go behind here. Okay? So now you've got $50 DC and you got a $50 place bet. So it's almost like the opposite side of the coin. I know it's not the same $100, but what I'm telling you is in this scenario, just so you understand what this is, now you're going to make about $70 here. But you're not going to make 70. I'm sorry. The 70 was the net. You're going to make money here, but you would lose the 50 here. So most likely you would never keep it like this. I wouldn't. I'd go down to a 25. So now it's the same thing as our 100 and our 50. You see that? All right. So I'm just trying to open your mind to what potential you can do using the 7 as your friend and combining it with other things. That's the point. Okay? Now, what if we didn't have that there? What if the DC bet traveled to the 9 and you didn't have any other bets out here yet? You could pick up other numbers, right? So you have $50 out here. What if you use that $50 as a hedge? Right? So you picked up $10, $10, $10, $10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What if you picked up all these numbers and you have a $50 somewhat of a hedge here? Now, you're going to lose this if the 9 comes up again. But you're betting that the 7 has more ways to be made than the 9. And before that 7 even shows up, you're going to win some of this money. You're going to hit some of these numbers. Now, do you have to do all the numbers? No. I've done videos where I show it's a balancing routine. It's how much you want to be hedged. It's how much you want to be out there. And even then, it's how do you manage these once you start making money. Let's see if we can get that to happen a little bit to show you. Okay, so it instantly hit the 6, which was the point, and we just made money. We just made almost $12 on this, right? But now there's going to be a point number again. We'll keep these live for the come out roll. You have to tell the dealer, or if you're playing bubble craps, make sure that they're live if you want them to be live. So we're hedged here anyway with the 7. So we're going to keep these live. So let's see what happens and see if we can hit another number. So now we're up. We've made $12 on this shooter here, right? And we still have our $50 hedge against the $50 that are out here. We just don't want to see a 9. Okay, the point is now a 5, and we just got paid on the 5. So let me show you just a little bit to open your mind what you can do. We made money on the 6 when it was the point, right? And we got hit. we could have done this. 1 and down. Now we only would have had $40 here versus a $50 hedge. Then the shooter comes out with a 5. We just made money on the 5. We could do this. 1 and down type of strategy. And now you only have $30 versus the $50 hedge. So let's just play it out. Now we got the 4, which is spectacular because the 4 pays 2 to 1, basically $20. So do you understand? We have absolutely no money at risk here, basically. The way it stands right now. We already made our money back, basically. So we can either pull these down if you want and play it ultra conservative, or we can play it out. We've got $20 at risk here. And if the 7 comes now, we're going to get paid 50 and we're going to lose 20. So let's just play it out. And there's an 8. So now we just made more money. You can decide, you know what, I'm hedged here. There's no reason. If this guy keeps throwing 8s and 10s or something, I'm going to stay out there. Or you can lock it up. Right? So this shooter has made you how much money? Now, you may ask the question, what about taking this bet down? No. No. It may sound like a good idea, but it really isn't. Because you're in the driver's seat with the 7 versus the 9. So you're literally taking money off the table where the odds are way in your favor. Now, he could throw a 9 and you could lose this. But this is a game of odds, of statistics. And when it's in your favor, you got to really think about it. If you survive that come out, the don't come roll, where it's in the box here, you are always a favorite. So taking this money down is not usually in your best interest. Okay? It's not in your best interest to take this money down. That's the way that it works. Now, do you want to take this down? You can take this down if you want. The odds of a 10 being thrown are slim, right? That's why it pays 2 to 1. So if you wanted to capture more profit or be safer, you could take this down. I wouldn't probably do it all the time because it's paid for. It's hedged. And you're getting a 2 to 1 payout if the 10 shows up. So let's see what happens. That's a 4. And that's a 7. So we did the right thing there. Perfect. The 7 came before the 9. And that was about the best example of that type of a concept. We had the hedge bet. We played other numbers on the light side. We nailed every single one of them except the 10. And we played it conservative and we pulled it down every time we got hit. Every time we got paid on a number. You don't have to do that. I'm showing you one variation. Okay? Now, can you do the same thing from the don't pass? Sure you can. If you had the $100 on the DP, and then you wanted to hedge this against the 7, you could do what we did earlier, right? You could do a lay bet here. All right, that's an instant win because it's a 2, so we made money here. I'll leave the hedge out there. Okay. So in that scenario, well, actually, what happened there? That was a 7. I don't know what happened there. Was the 10 the point? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The hedge worked there. That's what happened there. So we lost our don't pass bet because of the 7. But look what happened. Because of the lay bet 10, we made it right back. So the hedge worked perfectly there. Okay, we lost 100. We made about 100 here, a little less than 100. So let's do it again. Okay, a 3. We made instant money again here with the 2 or the 3 on the don't pass. So let's do it again. All right, 5. All right. Now, we don't need the hedge here anymore, right? Because we survived the come out roll. So we can do the same type of strategy that we did with the DC. We can do this like we did before. We have $100 here of hedge. We can do 10 here. 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 Whatever. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. We have $100 hedge here if the 7 comes before the 5. So we're making 100, but if we lost right now, we would lose 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. We'd still make $50. Now we lose this 100, as you know, if the 5 comes. So let's see what happens now using the don't pass as our 7 is our friend versus what we did with the DC bet. Let's see what happens. Okay. And you see what happened. The 7 came instantly. We lost 50 on the numbers, but we made 100 here. So we made $100. So I'm going to leave it here. This video is already 41 minutes long. You've seen elements and pieces in this video as to how we can put various things together to create realistic strategies that make the 7 our friend. If you want to understand how to really do this and develop full strategies with the right money management and discipline and bankroll, and how to use that money to build bigger bankrolls so that you can play at this $100 level, you have to stay tuned to the channel or become a member of CruzCasinoMafia.com, where we teach you specific strategies, not just pieces of strategies like I showed in this video, the elements. And we're going to be having things coming out as paycheck series systems very, very soon that use elements of what I've just shown you. And we're already using these to make paychecks in the casino on a weekly basis. So if you want to learn how to do this, stick around or join CruzCasinoMafia.com. We'll see you on the next video, guys. Remember, the 7 can be your friend if it's used properly. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.